The Dallas Cowboys might be one move away from completely flipping the NFC, and it involves a dream running back that fans have been begging for. Reports are heating up about a potential massive trade, and if this actually happens, it changes everything for this offense. Imagine adding an explosive, game-breaking RB behind that offensive line, taking pressure off Dak, and forcing defenses to pick their poison every single snap. This isn't just another rumor, this feels strategic. The front office knows the window is now. The question is, are the Cowboys about to go all in for a Super Bowl run? Cowboys Nation, this is the kind of news that can shift the entire balance of power in the league overnight. The front office has officially pulled the trigger on what many are already calling a franchise-altering move, a massive trade that brings in the dream running back this team has been missing, and suddenly the road to the Super Bowl doesn't look like a fantasy anymore, it looks like a real, tangible destination. For months, fans have debated whether the Dallas Cowboys had enough firepower to truly compete with the elite teams in the National Football League. The defense has shown flashes of dominance. The passing game, led by Dak Prescott, has had explosive stretches. But when the games get tight in January, when the temperature drops and every yard matters, you need a back who can control the clock, break tackles, and take over a game in the fourth quarter. That's exactly why this move feels different. This wasn't a minor depth signing. This wasn't a low-risk flyer on a rotational piece. This was aggressive. This was calculated. And most importantly, this was a statement. Ownership, led by Jerry Jones, made it clear that standing still was not an option. After another season that ended short of expectations, the message was simple: good is not good enough. The Cowboys needed a difference maker in the backfield. They needed someone who can line up in shotgun, run between the tackles, bounce it outside, catch passes out of the backfield, and pick up blitzes when it matters most. They needed a player who forces defensive coordinators to change their entire game plan. And now they have him. Think about what this does to the offense immediately. Defenses can no longer sit back in two high safety shells and dare Dallas to run the ball. They can't pin their ears back and rush the passer every down. With a true workhorse back in the lineup, play action becomes deadly. Linebackers hesitate. Safeties creep forward. Suddenly, those deep shots downfield open up in a way they simply didn't before. For Dak Prescott, this is enormous. Throughout his career, he has been at his absolute best when the run game is balanced and reliable. When he doesn't have to carry the entire offense on his shoulders, when he can operate within structure, use play action, and attack mismatches, that's when he looks like an elite quarterback. This trade gives him that security blanket, and it gives the entire offense an identity. But let's talk about the bigger picture. In today's NFL, some argue that running backs are replaceable. That you can find production in the draft. That you shouldn't invest major assets in the position. And in many cases, that's true. But there are exceptions. There are rare players who transcend the position. Players who don't just accumulate yards, they control momentum. They close out games. They wear down defenses until tackling becomes a business decision. That's the kind of presence Dallas just added. Imagine late in the fourth quarter, Cowboys up by 4. Facing a physical defense that's been on the field all day. Instead of throwing 3 straight times and giving the ball back, you hand it off to your dream back and let him grind out first down after first down. That's championship football. That's how you win in January. That's how you punch your ticket to the Super Bowl. And speaking of the Super Bowl, that's the standard here. Not division titles. Not playoff appearances. Championships. The organization hasn't lifted the Lombardi Trophy in decades, and every move is now viewed through that lens. Does this help win a championship? If the answer is yes, then the cost becomes secondary. This trade also sends a message to the locker room. It tells the veterans that management believes in this core. It tells the defense that their elite performances won't go to waste. It tells the offensive line that their physical identity still matters. There's something powerful about knowing your front office is all in. Financially, it wasn't a simple move. There were cap considerations. There were future assets involved. But sometimes you have to be bold. You can't live in fear of what might happen 2 or 3 years down the road if you have a legitimate window right now. And make no mistake, the Cowboys believe their window is open. Defensively, they have speed and playmakers at every level. Offensively, they have weapons on the outside. What they were missing was balance. What they were missing was a tone setter in the backfield. Now, that gap has been filled. Picture the ripple effect. Third and short situations become manageable instead of stressful. Red zone efficiency improves because you have a back who can power through contact. Screen plays become explosive weapons. Even special teams benefit when you have an athlete capable of flipping field position at any moment. And let's not ignore the psychological factor. Opposing teams now have to account for this player every single snap. That changes preparation. That changes film study. That changes how defensive coordinators call games. When you can dictate terms instead of reacting, you control the tempo. There's also something to be said about momentum. Off-season momentum turns into training camp buzz. Training camp buzz turns into early season confidence. And confidence, especially in a league built on parity, can be the difference between a good team and a championship team. The fanbase has been hungry for this kind of move. Cowboys supporters have endured heartbreaking playoff exits and near misses. They've heard the criticism. They've seen the memes. But this trade signals a shift in mindset. It's proactive. It's fearless. Now, expectations will skyrocket. That's the nature of the star on the helmet. Every gain will be analyzed. Every carry will be scrutinized. But that pressure comes with the territory. If you want to compete for a title, you embrace the spotlight. The coaching staff will also have to maximize this opportunity. Scheme matters. Usage matters. You don't make a blockbuster move like this just to rotate the player casually. You build around his strengths. You design packages that stress defenses horizontally and vertically. You keep him fresh but involved. If executed properly, this offense could become one of the most balanced units in the league. A dangerous passing attack paired with a punishing ground game is a nightmare for opponents. It travels well. It works in domes. It works in cold weather. It works in the playoffs. And that's what this is all about. This isn't just about winning in September. It's not about flashy stats in October. It's about peaking in January and February. It's about positioning yourself among the final teams standing when the spotlight is brightest and the stakes are highest. Every championship run has a defining move. A trade. A signing. A decision that, in hindsight, everyone points to and says that's when it changed. Cowboys Nation is hoping this is that moment.